Welcome to Who Knows? And welcome to Joust. Meet thy enemies. Today, we'll be taking flight into the world of this legendary arcade game that had players flapping, battling, and, well, jousting their way to victory. Released in 1982, Joust became one of the highest-grossing arcade games of the early 80s. Its success led to ports on multiple home consoles, keeping the battle alive long after its arcade heyday. Before we get into the fun facts, let's take a moment to soar into the details, because who knows what surprises might be lurking in this classic game, and be sure to stick around for a final joke at the end that's sure to ruffle some feathers. Oh, and before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Fact 1. A unique concept. Unlike most arcade games of its time, Joust didn't follow the standard run-and-gun formula. Instead, it introduced a gravity-based combat system where players had to control the flapping of their ostrich or stork to stay aloft while battling enemy knights. It was a bold move that set it apart from the competition. Fact 2. Williams' bold innovation. Joust was developed by Williams Electronics, a company already known for hit pinball machines. Designer John Newcomer wanted to create a game that wasn't another space shooter, so instead of lasers and spaceships, he gave players birds and lances. Quite the switch-up, right? Fact 3. The mighty ostrich. Why did players ride a giant ostrich instead of a horse? Newcomer believed that flying creatures would add an exciting challenge, and an ostrich was just absurd enough to work. Plus, he thought horses were too predictable, and really, who wouldn't want to joust on a giant bird? Fact 4. Two-player mayhem. Unlike many arcade games of the era, Joust featured true co-op play. Many fun times were had between friends, just exactly like two pictured here in the game flyer. Two players could work together to defeat enemies, or more often than not, accidentally knock each other out. Teamwork makes the dream work, but sometimes dreams crash and burn. Fact 5. The pterodactyl. If players took too long on a level, a deadly pterodactyl would swoop in to attack. This winged menace was incredibly difficult to defeat, requiring a precise lance hit to the mouth. Many players considered it one of the toughest arcade enemies of all time. Fact 6. A flappy influence. The game's unique flapping physics, where players had to repeatedly press a button to stay airborne, inspired later flying mechanics in other games. If you've ever played Flappy Bird, you can thank Joust for pioneering the frustration. Fact 7. Lava, hands, and doom. If you flew too close to the lava at the bottom of the screen, a creepy lava hand would emerge to snatch your bird. This eerie touch added another layer of challenge, proving that the ground was just as dangerous as enemy knights. Fact 8. A bug becomes a feature. During development, John Newcomer discovered a programming bug. Got a treat for you. Let's listen to him talk about it from this rare lost interview clip.
There was a bug when we first were working on the flying and the running of the ostrich. We had neglected to consider is when the ostrich lands on some of the floating cliffs, how's that handled? When does the animation call the running leg and the non-leg flap sequence? So there's a lot of situations where the cliff is floating and the ostrich will be flying, but he's not high enough to show his legs, so it'll just do a belly flop across the cliff. And on the one side of the screen, we had two cliffs that were staggered. When he does a belly flop, there's a little hole of a couple of pixels, and it allows the bird to squeeze out between the two cliffs. And we're racking our brains trying to fix it, but we were so embroiled in playing Cutthroat, where we would try to kill each other when we were playing and testing the game, and it became a really fun trick to do, is that someone would be hovering underneath these cliffs, and then you'd deliberately do the belly flop and squirt out and kill the guy underneath. And so we decided to keep that in there and call it a feature.
Sometimes the best features are happy accidents. Fact 9. Hollywood cameos. Joust has made appearances in several films and TV shows, including Ready Player One and The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. It's a true pop culture icon that still gets nods decades later. Before we get to the final fact, Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to check out our other videos to learn more amazing things. Who knows what you might discover? Oh, and don't fly off just yet. A special joke is coming at the end. Fact 10, a sequel that never took flight. A sequel called Joust 2. Survival of the Fittest was released in 1986, adding new mechanics like the ability to transform into a Pegasus. However, it never reached the heights of its predecessor, and remains a lesser-known entry in the franchise. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a separate show about Joust 2. Joust remains one of the most unique and beloved arcade games of all time, with its quirky mechanics, unforgettable battles, and legendary flying ostriches. Whether you played it in the arcades or discovered it later, it's a game that continues to soar in gaming history. By the way, what did the Shadow Lord Knight say when the player got his egg? Well, that's extremely disappointing. See you at the next video.